Hulk as well. Maybe Strange. Those are probably like the three most tanks that I have the most time on at the moment.
Okay, okay. I think would be the most effective if we focus on one today. If we do 30 minutes real quick on that,
Yeah,
and should be alright.
yeah,
What the tank you want to focus on then? Magneto or
yeah,
any of the
Magneto.
others? Okay, okay. Let's do that. Yeah, let's focus on Magneto. Anything you struggle with on Magneto you feel like at the moment?
Um, yeah. I've noticed two things already. I think sometimes my targeting may not be the best. And then also times when like the fight starts to begin. And I think like also like mid fight, when things are like pretty hectic. I think I just have a problem with trying to identify where I should be like positioned at, or if I should be peeling. Depending on what comps the other team is running.
Makes sense. So kind of target priority in a way. It
Yes,
feels
exactly.
okay. We can take a look. Okay. Do you have any replay we could start with?
Yeah. I have it once you're ready, or
Yeah,
I
of
can.
course. Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, whenever you
Okay.
can set it.
Uh, it's 1086.
Oh, 10. Okay, 86. Mm-hmm.
Uh, six. Or sorry. 1258,
1258
and then 942.
942. Okay, let's see if that works. Can you see the stream, by the way?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm swapping over right now to my computer. I was on my console.
Yeah. That's all good. Just let me know once you see it, and we can start. Alright. Is it working for you?
I can see it now. I believe. I think.
Yeah, it's working for you just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Do you remember the time when you played Magneto in here? Seems like we are... Yeah, so this is when we made the swap. Yeah, so we start from here. Or do you want to start at any other point?
We could start from there.
Okay, sounds good. Let's take a look. So, if we're just talking about target priority, I think a lot of the target priority is gonna be you as a tank, especially just thinking where most of the pressure is on the enemy team, so you will be able to just effectively stop their pressure. You can absorb the pressure and also just maybe stop them from doing something. You have the stacks you can use. You can just try to kind of boop the enemy. You can try to just do decent amount of pressure as well. The shots, I think, too. And the bubbles, there's a lot about that too. How do we use them to just enable, disable activity? So yeah, let's just watch what we're doing. At the moment, in this comp, you have some of the poke and also short like brawl range options, so that's good. It seems right away the pressure is on the decent target too. Right now just trying to contest the bridge seems pretty decent. Why not? We could try that out. Okay, it seems that Groot is going for the pressure, and now we are ready to keep up. Okay, which is the pressuring, generally speaking, keeping the damage going. I think that's fine. Okay, let's just watch a little bit more. I see a few things to talk about already, but yeah, let's just watch a little bit. Okay. That's kind of the wall. I think if you can separate anybody, if you can follow up with the pressure, that would be quite decent too. Okay, so I'm thinking something to start with right away, and maybe there's not much to do regarding target priority right now because everybody on the enemy team, they kind of stacked in the same area. But what I want you to keep in mind is making sure you tank in the area where it's meaningful for your team. That's always something I start with the tanks, because if you using your resources before the actual pressure happens, something is off typically. So if we go back a little bit, I will give you an example of that. It's just when you use the bubble. By the way, oh wait, there's a leaf sound. Can you see the stream still?
Yes, I can see the stream still.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, I think I thought I just heard somebody laughed and I thought it was you. I'm like, yeah, okay, what happened? So it's fine. So we can see you here. When you apply the pressure, it's just normal damage, and then we use the bubble. Okay. See, there's a big problem with those kind of plays. Is why? Because when we position ourselves, you're gonna be the tank here, and we're just gonna call this guys, your teammates around here. They're the position A, and then there is going to be position B over here, the enemy team. Yeah, they're trying to attack you in the moment. Okay, they're trying to do a lot of damage, but the problem with that is your team cannot take advantage of that with their pressure. And this is the essentials of the tanking. If I'm trying to turn the corner somewhere, especially if there's this kind of corner where it's more perpendicular, when you're trying to turn that corner, you want to make sure that the rest of this guy is able to do something if you start tanking things there. So you see the bubble is on you, and now ideally we should get to maybe our Squirrel Girl, our Magic to pressure, our Bucky to pressure, our Rocket to pressure, anybody else. Okay, so it's just for the moment when we grab that attention that we can use that. Okay, so how can you do that? Okay, so first off, just thinking about hugging corners in this way, so you force an enemy to push you. You want to be making sure that there's more attention towards you. In a way, if I'm maybe closer to this wall over here, then those guys pushing me this way, and then they suddenly extend it towards the area where my team is being active. Okay? Does that make sense so far, this idea? Just make them push your corner. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay. And with this, if we make them push your corner, just gonna write it down, make them push your corner, you will just keep in mind two things is, where's that general area, kind of kill zone to fight for, and you also need to prepare the resources there. So if we ever notice you using the resources before the stuff happens in here, where your team can shoot, usually something is off. So it really requires you to make sure use cover really well. You're just trying to force the enemy to make a commitment in a way. Okay. Let's keep watching. You can also see some of that stuff afterwards a little bit. When you just start the pressure, for example, this shield, yeah, maybe I can just try to force this guys to push me while using the corner. In your case, it can be this right corner, maybe, or you can just keep pushing from this left corner, and then they make a commitment to try to shoot you, and then you use your ability to try to stay alive. I don't think it's too bad here, because you can get back with the cooldown, but you just constantly... Usually, is gonna be one of the biggest things. I think bubble especially is something to keep in mind. Yeah, this is where it's gonna be more important over here, when the 6v6 starts. Okay, see how many resources that goes into you. Okay, so we're missing half of the HP, and most of our team kind of almost ready. Yeah, they're not entirely ready, but they're trying to pump a lot of healing into you. Yeah, so, and because this happens, now they partially also might be not able to follow up the pressure. Okay, it's just the way we pick the corner. You see that? So there's high probability for you to get forced to use the bubble. How do you think you should be playing right now? So you bait the enemy to go into your space, in a way. Where should he be?
My first thoughts maybe maybe on height or just behind cover in general. Maybe letting them commit to move in. Maybe
Mhm.
have them use some of their cooldowns before we start
Yeah, okay.
the fight.
Continue.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, so you mentioned the top could be a good one. Okay, let's call it A. What are the other option? What is the other option? Any other?
Um, I would say right where kind of our magic is at, maybe like that area as well, or even further back where our Loki is at. It's like using that height.
Hmm. I would say it's gonna
Yeah.
be really far away, and you're not able to put early pressure though. That's my problem. You're able to put early pressure from A though, and you can use this as a cover. Is there any other option where you can still put pressure and bait their attention? Just well, make sure that you bait the enemy inside this yellow area. It seems where your team is gonna take a fight.
I would say like maybe towards the right side, right? Maybe
Right
since
side
there's
is
cover over
decent.
there.
Yeah, right side is,
Yeah.
feels better. One of those options. So, see, there are always gonna be different solutions. It's all about the context of where the fight is, but you definitely don't want to be forced into this situation because this is where your teammates might feel obligated to heal you a lot, and you also might be using a lot of defensive stuff too unnecessarily, which is you don't have to. It's most of the cooldowns, let's keep it this way, most of the resources should be preserved for the time when the pressure happens in the kill zone. Yeah, I'm just doing the stuff over there, okay, and making sure my resources are ready. Like that bubble, for example, can be ready to do something, but your HP is also a resource, so we don't want you to trade your HP, most of your HP before the actual fight happens, ideally. Okay, we just want
I
to,
see. I see.
yeah, we want to make sure there's a constant good trade. Right. Bubble here, for example, is fine. Yeah, we getting a big commitment from the enemy team, so we have to stay alive. That's where you can preserve some of the HP this way. I'll try to make sure you also use the shift to stay alive too. That's okay. Yeah, well, I'm calling it shift, sorry, but yeah, I mean this shield over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just always using PC terms. It's fine. Well, now, just keep the pressure up. Yes. And see, even in here, you just find a ways, maybe, in our case, I want to keep up the pressure, maybe I can arc this right corner. Maybe I can also try, I'm not sure you can make it, but maybe, I think this left side, I don't think it's too valuable though, because of just where the spawn is, but maybe just starting with here, the right side is okay-ish. Right, let's start using the ultimate. Unfortunately, Ultron is escaping. I think it's one of the hardest targets for us to usually
Yeah.
target right away because they have an escape, they can do something. And if we just talk about to the land, so what we mentioned, yeah, make sure there's a commitment. Yeah, let's just keep this going. Commitment, the kill zone. Now, what kind of commitment you could be scouting for and target that with your ultimate? Let's just look at that. Yeah, let's go back. Okay, so it starts here. Yeah, even earlier. Yeah, this is when it starts. Okay, using your ultimate, and you might expect an enemy team to commit something. Yeah, maybe cooldowns, maybe position-wise, maybe their ultimates. So what is there for you to try to bait and target later on? What do you think?
I would say like maybe like one of their maybe like one of their other support ults.
Yeah, maybe potentially. That would be better one. It's just Ultron. Well, Ultron, he has this inverse. If well, obviously we don't know if they're close or not, but maybe it can be valuable. I mean, if we don't know exactly the percentage, you should know how close they are. Ideally, 10%, maybe. If they on 80, usually assume they have the ultimate, so might be a good target for us to just go for. Ultron is gonna be harder because of just how much mobility they have. If they have their shift, yeah, maybe can be not valuable. You see them dodging that right away, right? So let's keep what is that commitment they're making. Yeah, maybe this invisible woman, they're walking forward. Okay, maybe I can commit towards them. Maybe there's gonna be someone else even out of position, and there's a high chance of getting killed. Like maybe even this cruel girl who's out of position. It might be slightly better. Yeah, just something to keep in mind. Who's
Okay.
making commitment? Okay. Okay, so I will put it this way. Watch for commitment. Just bait, play around commitment. And
I
commitment
see.
can be cooldowns, it can be a position, and then you can punish that commitment. Usually, whatever you got, your abilities, the bubbles, even your ultimate allows you to do so. So, yeah, let's keep watching. Do you have any questions so far about anything?
Yeah, yeah, and it's kind of more like an open-ended question. So from what I'm understanding at the moment, I should be playing more passively, trying to bait down or try to bait like enemy cooldowns, and then once they're committed as well, maybe that's when I start going more aggressive. You know, is does that sound kind of right?
Yeah, sort of. I would keep it this way. Don't play passive, but play aggressive the right times. You just find the right time when the kill zone actually happens. You know, there is actual pressure coming in from your team and there's commitment from the enemy. Then you start doing stuff there and be aggressive. Yeah, this is one of the best things to do. Because a lot of times when people say, okay, like play passive or don't do this, it just might be not as actionable in a way. We want you to be aggressive, just make sure you do it at the right time and choose the right targets to go for.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, does it make sense?
Yeah. I think I'm actually understanding it a bit more.
Yeah, okay, we can just keep going here. Let's watch a little bit more examples. Okay, so the fight, we can maybe skip this section. For example, we watched that a lot already. Okay, let's see, maybe there's gonna be another one we can watch. For example, here. Okay, what do we got? Okay, pressure on the top right, and then there is pressure, shooting, going after Skullgirl again, and yeah, I see, this is what I mean. You want to be trying to think, how do I bait an enemy team's action in the kill zone? Yeah, and there's a lot about using cover. Yeah, just a lot about you not exactly playing passive, but just trying to force out something, and then later on you can do stuff. So what do you think? How can you play this out with your position? What do you think your position should be right now?
I feel like I should just be like on main, right? Like on cart, maybe. Maybe trying to bait like a Emma cooldown, like her diamond, maybe.
And how you do that? Because you doing that in a way. Yeah, you did bait out the cooldown as well. Is it the best way to approach it? How we trying to do that currently? Yeah, so we're going from this side, and then there is gonna be, you kind of rotate it to the right, staying in the main now, or is there any other thing we can do? Because I'm not sure if this is the most effective cooldown trade there. Okay, let's
No.
just think, if we forcing this ammo to do something, and there's a bubble on us, is there a way for you to make it more effective, so there is even more commitment towards the kill zone? Yeah, the kill zone is gonna be over here in a way.
Um, maybe I could have been on like the left side, maybe like those like small, like the little elevated area on the left, maybe trying to shoot supports. I'm not too sure actually.
Because the thing is, it's first off, I think there has to be a lot about how to use cover, again, as you mentioned, especially about that one. Remember that example? I don't peek this way, where my team cannot do stuff. I bait them around the corner. Yeah, just make sure they push around the corner. I'm just gonna write it down. Bait them around the corner, and usually it's gonna be fine. Here, I'm not sure there are too many corners for you to use. Maybe I can think about this top right, for example. Maybe I can also think about this left side, but yeah, it seems a little bit awkward. I think most of your team is over here too, so might be this is okay-ish. But see, when this pressure happens, because you kind of make them extend around the corner, it's usually gonna be more perpendicular corners like this one. If I make this ammo walk this way, then this puts her in the area where, for example, this Loki can do more damage, or maybe this magic, most likely they can also apply damage. So see, I'm kind of using this perpendicular corner to bait out there. Yeah, sometimes not always possible, yeah, but even here, there's still kind of can be the better direction for us to take. Yeah, maybe the left side can also work, yeah, but this is what I mean. 90 corners usually, they just make sure they extend the pressure a little bit more, yeah? You make the enemy team to push you, so your team can shoot stuff as well. Yeah, you see, again, if you go back, there's a slight problem. This cannot get shot by everybody. And maybe there's also can be slightly later time you don't have to contest the card right away. Yeah, if we're gonna be honest, we missing the Groot, we can just try to re-establish the tempo a little bit later. Yeah, let's say I play a long fight. Okay, shoot. Yeah, play the corner, shoot, and then they are gonna be active. Go here, and then you start the pressure like maybe now when you Groot is back. I imagine that might be even better.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. So yeah, all of that is just fight it when you have an advantage. That's pretty big thing. Okay, yeah, any questions about this fight?
Yeah. Do you also think maybe I should be kind of just forcing the other team to kind of have like bad positioning, like when we start fights, maybe?
Yeah, of course. Just make sure you have most of the resources already. Make sure you have
Okay.
your cooldowns. Yeah, if you're talking about the resources, most of the cooldowns are gonna be towards the kill zone. Should be contributed towards that, because if not, if you don't have those, then it will be problematic. You still can use some of those before, but most of them should go towards those fights over here. Yeah, I need that bubble when most of my team is fighting, or I need that shift when my team is fighting. Those are always essentials for any tanks. Doesn't matter Overwatch or this game, it's still the same stuff. Okay, does it make sense?
Yeah. It makes sense.
Okay. Let's maybe watch just one more fight, and then we can also summarize. Okay, let's see, how is that gonna be? It's just different area. Right, and now we can try to find some sort of corner you can use, so preserve your cooldowns for the time when your team is able to fight. So, how can you position at the moment? What do you think? What your position should be?
Maybe like just on height, right? Like towards the right, because there's
Maybe.
some cover there as well. Or just up, maybe just up on the steps.
Yeah. At least I think it's a okay option to start with. Yeah, if I'm just starting with this area, I can try to keep pressuring this main here, and then later on you can just do something else, and should be okay. Um, yeah, I think for the most part, that's what we're looking for. Just keep baiting the attention, make sure that there's constant commitment. It should be alright. Yeah, let's actually try to summarize properly, so you have the actionable goals for the next time. What are
Okay.
the concepts for us to work on then, based on this brief review? What do you think?
I think before we commit to a fight, I think we just need to make sure we have all of our resources, right, and just make sure we're playing cover,
Mhm.
not playing too passive, but just kind of still putting a bit of pressure before we commit to a fight.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how do you make the enemy to make a commitment? What do you want to be doing?
Uh, I think just trying to maybe just apply pressure from like height or just kind of I think that's that one I'm still a little fuzzy about.
So remember that example was over here. Okay, let's just go back to it. Right there. What was wrong when we started using the bubble over here? Yeah, well, our team was there. We started using the bubble over here. The enemy team is here. What we should be doing to make sure we bait the enemy team's commitment in here?
I would just make sure that everyone's set up like the team. We have our cooldowns and we have line of sight as well.
No. What is about your play? Well, what was wrong with your positioning there? Remember, you're here, your team is over there, and the enemy team is here. I can go back to that example again. Like, it just any of the fights, even over here. High chance to get your cooldowns forced before the fight, right? So,
Yeah.
what are you not doing with your position? Or let's just go back initially to this first again. First turn. So we remember that. Okay, a little bit back. Probably starting here. Right? Yeah, it's over here. So, what are we not doing with our position? Remember?
Um, I mean, we're not using cover. That's the first thing, and yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
using cooldowns
yeah.
super early when we don't need to.
Yeah, exactly. You just need to use those 90 corners more. Right there. You have something over here. You bait them to push around the corner typically. It's gonna be alright.
Yep.
Obviously, keep your sidelines, the mid range, and it will be okay most of the time, I think. Alright. Any final
Okay. Yeah.
questions? Mm-hmm.
So as someone that normally frontlines as like a shield tank, like Stranger Mag, who how should I be targeting my opponents? Should I be going for like someone that's on height mainly, or should I just be only focusing supports? Should I be dishing out damage to the tanks up front? I think that's just kind of like my
Mhm.
biggest question at the moment.
Yeah, as a tank, you need to put pressure where there's the most activity happening, because as a tank, you need to absorb attention. That is your essential job. If you're doing that, then the rest of your team can try to control the space with your damage dealers, your strategists. They're just able to put the pressure in. If you're not able to effectively absorb the pressure, like here, we use the bubble, my team is not able to do stuff. That means less opportunities for your team to do something. So that is the problem, and you always need to put attention the more scary angle. Well, in your case, it's here, okay, but it can be somewhere else. Like that schoolgirl on the top. There also might be some other cooldown. I mean, some other positions. Just see who does more, and then make sure you're there. Yeah, I know we kind of maybe not didn't talk much right now about it, but we can always talk about it later. We can also mark it later on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just target priority. Who do we focus? Should be good. Okay. Yeah. Does it make sense though, or any other questions?
No, yeah, it actually makes a lot of sense. Actually, I think I'm gonna have to test it out now. Just generally just kind of look for that when I play here pretty soon.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. So if you're gonna have any questions later on, let me know, and I will see. Yeah, we'll see you in the next session then.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck. Bye bye.
Goodbye.